Good morning. This is the October 5th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have this new system that we're trying to muddle through here. So
we'll be technology masters when this is all over.
Be what?
I'm not sure.
Hear what she said.
I said we'll be technology masters by the time this is all over.
Sure, yeah. Anyway, we'll start off with 2A, presentation on the salmon crisis by Cam Perry and Josh Betzworth. Cam, please. You gotta turn your mic on, Cam.
I think it takes a second. I think Bobby has to let him turn his mic on.
Where'd he go? I don't even see him on this.
He's now on staff.
Okay. Is he on? Cam, are you there?
You click on the staff bar.
Where?
Yeah, right there. Somehow you can unmute him by clicking on his microphone.
He's muted. He's muted himself.
Yeah. Cam, you have to unmute if he's there. Where are you, Cam?
Do that down on the bottom, the black all. Yeah. Unmute all. Is he there?
Nope. Still red. He
Yeah.
sees me talking.
Oh.
There he is.
I think
Yeah.
you guys just unmuted me. There we
I think
go.
we did.
It's new technology, I guess. Go ahead, Cam.
Bob, you know I'm a typewriter, guys.
Yeah.
It's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for having
Great to
us
see.
this morning. As you guys know, we've been talking about updating the salmon values on the Southern Oregon coast. The last time a groundbreaking study was done was in 2009. And so the figures that we have on our salmon populations as far as their economic value are 12 years old now. And it becomes imperative that we update these figures as we kind of face a brave new world of trying to save these fish and to propagate more of them within our river system. The last time that they did a study, and this was Echo Northwest, just on the Rogue River, I think you guys are familiar with some of the numbers. They were staggering. $1.4 million annually with commercial fishing. Sport fishing accounted for $16 million annually. And all values of salmon on the Rogue River were $1.5 billion annually to the state of Oregon. So pretty staggering numbers. Echo Northwest did the original study back in 2009, the economic value study. It's been incredibly well vetted. As you guys know, even as Coos County, when we've talked fisheries and water issues, we've utilized that study when we deal with the legislature, both the federal legislature and Salem, our state legislature. It's been incredibly helpful to have those figures, especially as we look forward and managing fish policy, looking what we're going to do for these populations, how we can plan for our own county and our southern part of Oregon economically is so important, and how we plan for our population to account for these fish, support them, protect them, and propagate them. It's just really important, and probably the most important thing is the economic value that they mean to us on the southern Oregon coast. We know that we're a resource-based economy. Salmon is still a big part of that resource, but when it's shut down completely and we just don't, and our runs collapse, it can no longer be a part of that economic resource. And we have the tools to fix that. We really do after all these years. I'm very proud to say that salmon science has advanced dramatically, probably more in the last 10 years than it has in the last 50, which has really given us wonderful opportunities, both on the restoration side and on the genetic side, to bring more of these salmon back. But in order to push that argument forward, We really need the new economic figures and what those figures are going to tell us. Oregon's usually the leader in this, and especially in the salmon field, but we find ourselves falling behind. That's not a good place to be. There's been some incredibly innovative programs to propagate fish, both in stream and in the hatchery. California saved an entire run of coho down in the Russian River Basin because they brought that run in-house when it became functionally extinct. And now those coho populate all the feeder tributaries to the Russian, and they're using those same fish to populate historic coho streams down in Marin County, California, just north of San Francisco. So there's wonderful things that can be done if we can get the energy, the talent, and the money to do it. It's also important as we negotiate mitigation, because that's been a big thing really with the Army Corps of Engineers, with our own ODFW, with private entities, to be able to have these figures that tell us exactly what these salmon are worth. So the exciting thing is that Echo Northwest has agreed to lead this study, to chair it. Mark Buckley and his team, and they've done a phenomenal job before, and their work, like I said, has been vetted and hailed as really kind of the preeminent work in salmon values. And it's wonderful that they're willing to be a part of this again, to update that rogue study. The other wonderful thing about it is when that study is updated, the data will be transferable so that we can utilize it in Coos County, because I know we're particularly interested in what's happening in the Coquille system, especially since it was shut down this year. So we're looking at a 6.5 to 9 month process to update the study. My company, River Docs, is going to do a small piece of it, but the bulk of the work will be done by Echo Northwest, and we're thrilled about that. The price tag is really favorable, because if you had to build a platform from ground zero and start completely over for each river system, you'd be looking at somewhere between $150,000 to $250,000 to do this type of work. The partner we already have on board is Wild Rivers Coast Alliance, so you guys are very familiar with. Mr. Kaiser's done a tremendous job of being so much a part of our resource economy. They've put up $10,000 as a challenge grant. If Coos County were to match that, it automatically becomes $20,000. Our next presentation will be to the Curry County Board of Supervisors, and then the week of October 12th, we'll be talking to the Cow Creek Tribe to become a partner in this study work. So that's kind of it. It's I think it's critical that we do this. Having those salmon value numbers from Echo Northwest was imperative to me when I dealt with the legislature and my board when I chaired OHRC and we did salmon research. It was just so wonderful to be able to say, look, this is what we're going to lose. This is what we have. This is what we're losing. This is why we need the support and assistance. I think there'll be stand up and salute numbers as we deal with the Army Corps of Engineers, as we deal with all of our resource oversight agencies, and just absolutely be invaluable to us moving forward. So that's it, gentlemen, and Melissa, it's so nice to see you guys. I think this is the first time I've been in front of the board since I was commissioner. So it's great to be here.
Thank you, Cam. Do we have questions for Cam? Melissa or John?
My question is, what would be your time frame, Cam, for getting this done?
It'd be about 6.5 to 9 months. We try and accelerate it as quickly as we possibly could, as soon as we line up all the funding, which we hope we'll have in the next couple of weeks. We could start on the project, and we're going to make it a priority because it's a priority to us. I think if we're going to really put our foot in the door and make a difference on the South Coast, we really need to have this study. So it's going to be an extreme priority to us. 9 months at the outside, but we may be able to get it done as soon as 6.5 months.
So Cam, this $10,000 grant that you're talking about for the county donating, where would that money go to? Would that go to Eco Northwest or to OAA or where? And it
would probably go to OAA, Bob. Right, I think that's the cleanest path is, right, make the donation to OAA, and then as the study progresses, we can submit our bills to OAA, Echo Northwest, and River Docs. But I think that's the best way to do it.
So I probably shouldn't vote because I'm on the board of directors of OAA.
But you're not getting any personal.
No, I'm not, and we don't get paid as board members either, but
Right.
Just so everybody knows, I'm on the board. But it's really important to all of us that we bring back the salmon. It's dire when you have a couple hundred salmon coming back to the Coquille, and you used to have 30,000. Now they're in the Coos River, very few fish come back. The ones that we had a little spurt of rain, a few fish made it to the hatchery, and most of those were all jacks. Not many adults at all. Something's going on. The umpqua, the Silettes, et cetera, all in dire straits. We need to know why. And we need to know how much they're worth, of course.
No, you're
I
right,
agree.
Bob. And as we stake out that argument, it's just so important to have these economic figures because it makes a big difference. You know, a lot of people, especially from outside of Oregon, assume that our legislature, everybody wears a plaid hat and we stomp the outdoors and we're all lumberjacks and elk hunters. But when you get to the legislature, that's not particularly the story. You know, we have a lot of legislators that are pretty pavement oriented, but the one thing that they will listen to and understand is the economic value. And that makes a tremendous difference in pushing the argument forward about why these fish are so critically important to us. They're not just our heritage, and certainly in the case of our Native Americans, they're part of their soul. And I truly feel that they're part of our souls as Coos County residents. That's how much they mean to us. And that's why this work is so important.
Now, Cam, you talked about going to present to the Cow Creek tribe. Are you also scheduled to talk to the Coquille or the Confederated?
No, but I really would like to talk to them. I think that I'd love to have them be a vital part of this because they've really stepped up in a big way. Certainly the Coquille tribe on the Coquille River. So I'd really like them to be a part of it too. So I think if you guys were able to, I hope you had a copy of the work plan. Part of that work plan is to do our outreach immediately and really start to talk to all the potential players in this.
Okay. Any other questions for Commissioner Cribbins or Commissioner Sweet?
I do have a question. And then oh,
Go ahead, Melissa.
Go ahead, John. No, I'm going a slightly different direction, so go ahead.
Oh, Cam may have covered this, but Cam, each of the counties and a few of the tribes put in 10,000 each. We still got a long ways to go to get to a couple $100,000. What's your plan for that?
Oh, that would be what the study would cost if we had to do it from ground zero and develop all the data sets right here on our river system. In working with Echo Northwest, we've come up with a plan to redo the entire study for $38,715. And then Josh Bettisworth asked if we could specifically focus a little bit more on the Coquille and do some run numbers to show what our economic losses there are in terms of salmon. So that'll add a little bit to it, but not a lot. But the whole study should come in under $40,000. So it's quite different, John, than what we were talking about when you and I and Jim Seeley and a lot of the folks a number of years ago were trying to do a study like this. We were looking at numbers upwards of $300,000 and working with the Hatfield. So to be able to bring it in for this is a real joy for me that everybody said, look, we're going to do it for this amount of money and really do a phenomenal job. I was very pleased.
I have to apologize. Josh is having trouble getting on the system. We're trying to work with it, but we're not having much luck. He may be trying with his cell phone. I don't know. Any other discussion from the people that are signed on to this meeting?
I have a question still, Commissioner.
Okay, go ahead. And then we'll take public.
Cam, I don't know if you looked at Senator Wyden's Rivers Democracy Act, but I had a discussion with one of his staff members on Friday, and he was saying that because it involves the Coquille River is one of the listed segments in the Rivers Democracy Act that Senator Wyden is putting forward, and he was saying it would actually provide assistance with some of the salmon recovery work that everybody is taking on. Is that your opinion on it too? I don't know. That's what kind of put me on the spot.
Yeah, Melissa, and where that's going to be so important is I think that'll be a significant help with things like, clean water that's so supportive of a good fish run. The Coquille has a problem, of course, with sediment. There's a problem with predation, of course. There's a problem just in sheer numbers and what we propagate there. And I think, that is something we can definitely look to for some federal funding.
Okay, thanks.
Sure, Sweet, do you have anything else?
Just a question for the three of us. I'm certainly in favor of participating and contributing. Just want to know, have either of you given thought to where this would come from?
It would come out of economic development. I talked to our treasurer, and she think it would be most appropriate to come out of economic development.
Okay. Thank you.
We have
The other thing.
We have a handout from
You
Leonard.
guys is.
Go ahead, Cam.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say that I think this investment as a county will come back to us many-fold over the next few years, especially as we apply for project funding like Melissa just mentioned with Senator Wyden. If we can have this tool available, it's going to make a huge difference in what we're able to access for funding.
Okay. Now I have a handout from OAA President Leonard Krug, and you're unmuted. Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you, Commissioner Bob. I just wanted to add to Cam's comment about how important it is to be able to demonstrate the economic value of what we've lost in our fish.
Excuse me? What happened?
I think that go back to the, Who was that?
Leonard's muted for some reason. There he goes. Whoop.
Give it a second.
There you're back on now, Leonard.
All right. Well, it's important to have this information so we can legislate our fisheries well-being, because quite frankly, Oregon has been going down through a paradigm of anti-harvest, or reduction of hatchery releases. Let's put it that way. And just for a comparison, I just found an article here. The Feather River Hatchery Program has decided to bump up their smolt releases of salmon to, I think it's 7.75 million smolt released to help mitigate drought conditions in California for the year 2022. Plus, they're going to inject them with a thiamine supplement. That's a fishery issue that's of late, but Oregon's not doing that yet. But anyway, those kind of things. Oregon's funding is very marginal, to put it mildly, for hatchery output. We used to have over 4,000 active commercial salmon fishing vessels working off the Oregon coast, and we have less than 300 now. That's how far our fisheries have deteriorated. When we go to ODFW and tell them, or the public, or the legislators, and try to tell them we're losing a lot of money, they want to say, well, how much? Because money is what makes the world go round. And the state of California, according to Fish Bio, did a study about the worth of an inland salmon, and they estimated that at $1,178 per inland salmon. That's sport fish caught. So if you apply that to the Coquille River Basin and just those little communities right there, that's well over $1 billion that we're forfeiting by not propagating more fish. So I think you get the picture. We've got to change the direction here of where we're going, and this study would really give us some leverage to do that.
Okay, Josh has finally made it on. Need to unmute Josh. There you are. Vice President of OAA, Josh Bethworth, from England Marine.
Good morning, commissioners. just to simplify where everybody's coming from, when you go into a room or get on a Zoom call and talk to our legislators, and you say to them, we are losing quite a bit of money on the South Coast from this. They do want to know what that value is. The value that Leonard just spoke of is 1,000. We believe now that's a several-year-old study. We believe that number is going to come in closer to $2,000 to even $3,000. I asked our England Marine, I'll call him a bean counter just because that's what I have always called accountants, but he explained to me a billion is a funny number because we hear the number billion, but very few of us actually really understand what $1 billion is. That's 1,000 million. I don't know why that strikes me as a huge number, but it really is. That's the kind of money that changes the direction of the South Coast. That's the kind of number that brings industry back. When one of the caveats that we pushed for when we agreed to help fund this and to help work on this was we wanted to focus or have a small portion of this that focused on the Coquille River and what's being lost there. And all of you are, of course, aware of that. I didn't get to hear Cam's presentation, but I assume he brought that up. So that is one of the things that we are really working on. The other thing that's important to this study is it shows the ecological value of what those fish bring in, not just the economic, but the ecological value. I don't understand that, but it's something that comes up when you're talking to the Coastal Caucus or when you're talking to the metropolitan area legislators. They want to know all of that. This gives us a tool now to reach out and show them the science that they've been asking for some time. It allows us to build as we go forward. If you have any questions, that was all I wanted to put out there.
Okay. Anybody else with their hand up? I don't see anyone. So I would entertain a motion for a pledge, I assume, to help fund the study.
Bob, this is John. I would move we approve a $10,000 pledge to fund a Eco Northwest study on the value of salmon.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion about this?
Do I need to mention, should we add to that it would come out of our Economic Development Fund?
Correct. Do I have a
I think
second?
Megan would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion for commissioners?
Just
Hearing
thank
none?
everyone for their presentations.
Yeah,
This is
all
an
in
important
favor?
matter.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you much. All right, moving on to 2B, request approval of contract with Douglas Public Health Network, Coos Health and Wellness. Mike, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Ah, there you are. Thank you, Director. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a contract with the Douglas Public Health Network for regional partnerships from the public health, concentrating on communicable diseases. It's 16,000 over 9 months.
Here.
All right. Are you ready for a motion, Commissioner?
I am. Thank you.
All right. I move to approve the contract with Douglas Public Health Network and authorize the chair to sign.
A second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty, 2C, request approval of resolution to reclass Rama Wilson Brenner. I kind of mangled that, but go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, this is for Rama. She's one of our school therapists. And she now qualifies as a senior clinician, and we'd like to reclassify her as such.
Okay.
Okay, motion, please.
I move to approve the reclassification of Rama Eshelbrenner to Mental Health Specialist 2, Senior Clinician, effective November 1st, 2021, and sign Resolution 21-09-184P.
Have a
Second.
second? Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. 2D, request approval of job description for Systems Tech 1 and approve filling the position. Director Mike.
Yeah, so we would like to create this entry-level systems tech for our IT staff, and we would like permission to post and fill.
Okay,
And
Motion.
has the union already approved the job description? Yes, they've reviewed it. Okay. I'd be happy to make a motion.
okay,
I
thank you.
move to approve the position description for Systems Technician 1 and approve posting and filling that position.
Have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, 2E, request approval of IGA 6191 in the state of Oregon Community Corrections. Director Mike Krim.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Mike.
Here to ask the board for approval of the 21-23 intergovernmental agreement number 6191 between the state of Oregon and Coos County. The background is ask for approval for 21-23. This is Measure 57. These are property and drug cases. The IGA provides services for these property and drug crimes in Coos County. Position funds 65% of a parole probation officer, also housing, treatment, and services and supplies as needed. Total amount of the M57 budget for 21-23 is $237.69. The funding source is grant and aid from the state of Oregon, Department of Corrections. A request of approval for 21-23 intergovernmental agreement number 691 between the state of Oregon and Coos County.
I move that we approve the 2021 through 2023 IGA number 6191 between the state of Oregon and Coos County Community Corrections.
Second, please.
Second.
Or any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, team. Next, 2F, request approval of job description / resolution to reclass Alyssa Daniels. Director Mike Krim.
Yeah, here to ask the board for permission to reclass employee Alyssa Daniels. A merit increase October 1st. Since being hired, she's performed exceedingly well, done an outstanding job for our department, has done many of the duties of Secretary 3, asking the board to reclass Alyssa Daniels from a Secretary 2 to Secretary 3, effective October 1st, 21. She replaced at step 1, pay grade 415. Also approve and sign resolution 21-08-166P. This position has been filled recently, updated the job description. Ask the board to approve the position to Corrections Secretary 3. The ASME union has been reviewed with this request and approved it. Funding source is 011-2400-423.10-01. Ask the board to approve the reclass effective October 1st, 2021, and approve the sign of resolution 21-08-166P. Ask the board to approve that reclass from 2 to 3.
Wow. Do I have a motion?
Okay, I'll try it. I think I move we approve the revised job description for the Corrections Secretary 3 position and to approve and sign resolution 21-08-166P reclassifying Alyssa Daniels to Corrections Secretary 3 effective October 1, 2021.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to 2G, request approval of order appointing BOC to Board of Property Tax Appeals pool members. Debbie
Morning.
Heller?
Good morning. This is BOPTA season starting here in October 15th approximately. So it's time to appoint the members that make up the pool of citizens for which Coos County Board of Property Tax Appeals is drawn. All of the members of the pools are trained through the Department of Revenue. Each of them are qualified and willing to serve as members of the Board of Property Tax Appeals known as BOPTA. The requested action is to appoint the BOPTA pool as recommended on the attached order 21-09-059C.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move to approve order 21-09-059C.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Anyone? No? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty. 2H, request approval to purchase voter signature validation system and adopt sole source findings. County Clerk Debbie Heller.
Yes, we're looking at purchasing the Panasonic voter signature validation system. I have performed a diligent search of the available scanners that will work in our office, and between me and County Council, we've determined that the area that I have available for this piece of equipment is very limited, and therefore the only machine that would fit in it would be the Panasonic signature verification system, which qualifies then for the sole source funding. And the funding requests that I would like to have approved is the sole source findings and the purchase of the new Panasonic KVS 8100 voter signature validation system. And in regards to that, I do want to stress that by getting this system, it would really make us more accountable in the elections office for the voters within the county. We'd be able to scan the envelopes into our voter registration system, which means we would capture the whole envelope. Currently, we have the signature of each voter on the envelope, but we never are able to capture that and make it a record of the election. So this would enable us to do that. It would also enable the system to use the Periscript software to do the signature verification on that, which helps eliminate concerns from the public of possible political manipulation that staff may be accused of. It just enforces that we can be trusted. We're trying to do the signature verification process consistently with proven software that banks use. Counties that have moved to this system, it's usually smaller counties because we have less area in our offices, but this system is used within the states of Colorado, Washington, Utah, and Oregon. In counties in Oregon, Benton, Umatilla, and Lynn County have used it, I believe, for the last 2 elections they've had. And Lynn County was so impressed, and it was such a help to their staffing. They bought a second system. This will also enable us to use, hopefully, less staff, use more, oh, sorry about that. Enable us to use less staff when we have restrictions for social distancing. Smaller elections, we might not be able to call in full-time staff. I mean, extra help staff will be able to use our full-time staff. And it's just part of the way that the legislator is moving towards doing changes in elections. We're trying to be more accountable. We're trying to be a little more transparent, and the efficiencies of the office is a big one because we have less money at all times. And we're also going to be seeing other multiple changes throughout the legislative session that's changed things. We may not see a real price reduction in what funding I request for our extra help boards for this particular project. But hopefully in the future, there is some changes coming down in regards to secrecy envelopes that I'm pursuing. The legislators made it where we can request exemption of using secrecy envelopes within our election office, which would eliminate the cost of printing the envelopes, the assembly of the packets, and extra board workers needed to remove ballots from that envelope. So probably in the next year, we'll see a decrease in some of those costs. We'll also be seeing changes as far as postmarks being accepted, which again, probably will not see a reduction in any savings, but the benefits to the public, knowing that even if their ballot is mailed election day, their ballot will be counted as long as it's received in our office within 7 days. These are all pluses for both the county, showing we're trying to through the election process, work with the voters and do everything we possibly can to make this a very secure and transparent process.
Thank you, Debbie. I didn't see in your motion a monetary ask. Are you asking for $78,725 for a 5-year contract?
That is what I would like to request. Honestly, I didn't put the cover sheet together, but it is on the contract sheet. If you have the contract sheet, I am recommending to go with the 200,000 signatures over a 5-year period. If we go with a 5-year contract, that roughly saves over the 5-year contract approximately $4,000. I will state I did some looking at voter registration. Since May of 2020, we've increased our voter reg just from May of 2020, 2,398 voters, which averages out approximately 150 voters per month. And I believe by going with the 200,000 signatures a year would allow us to be covered for the growth that we're seeing in voter reg.
Great.
So after 2 years, there's an additional $12,000 a year for the additional 3 years for maintenance costs, correct?
It would be for maintenance costs plus the fee that Periscript charges for the software of signatures. They charge a certain amount for the amount of signatures you verify. So if you buy, let's just throw out 200,000 signatures in a year, if you go over that amount, you do have to pay them extra fees for those signatures, which has not been disclosed, but they don't sell it by, let's say if you go over by 500, they sell them in lots of 3,000, 30,000, 100,000. They pick the little lots that they will sell that to you for.
Okay, so what I'm getting is it's 78 plus roughly 36,000.
Yes, if we go with a 2-year contract, then each budget year after the 2 years, I would roughly be asking for $12,000 to cover the maintenance and the signatures.
Do we own this machine or is it leased from them?
It will be owned.
Okay, so I'm kind of tending towards a 2-year thing because electronics changes so quickly in the last 10, 15 years that every year or two, just like cell phones, they come out with 2 or 3 new ones every year. I'm wondering if we would go with 2-year and then get an upgraded machine. Just thinking out loud here.
Yeah, this system, there's not, counties my size has been waiting for something that will work with our area, our small areas, the office space that we have for many years. Counties like Multnomah, Washington, I have been to Multnomah, their machine that they've been using for quite a few years takes up more room than my 2 workstations in there. I know another county went with a company that had a mid-size machine, but it didn't do what they were promised that it would do, and they ended up backing out of the contract. And they're also looking at this system, and that would be Josephine County.
But
Technology does
it's-
change. All
is
my
it-
equipment within my office is on a 5-year plan, but even with the ballot tabulation system, you get upgrades, and that's part of that maintenance that you pay. I don't believe the scanner will become outdated. The scanners I used to scan the ballots was purchased in late 2015, and they're still doing everything required, and they do not foresee that going and needing replaced for a while.
So wait a minute, the current scanner we have does what?
We don't have a current scanner for this process, but the scanner that we have for ballot tallying
Okay,
that
all right.
scans the ballots in has been here for at least 6 years. They do not foresee it being outdated and not being able to work with the updates that software has at this time anywhere in the near future.
Any other discussion before a motion? Commissioner Sweet, Commissioner Crivens?
Well, Debbie, this is Commissioner Sweet. What is your recommended, we have several options here. I think you're recommending the 5-year.
Yes, the 5-year for
Table A,
78,000.
78,725, is that right?
Correct. And that way there would be no additional over those 5 years. I would not need to add approximate $12,000 into the budget to cover maintenance and the signatures.
Is that up, do we pay that all up front, or is it an annual payment or something less?
It would be all up front.
Okay.
No, I'm confused. The maintenance for the 5-year is for 5 years, because at the bottom of the page says annual maintenance cost after 2 years is an extra 12 grand roughly, so another 36,000. So is that
So
30?
the 5-year plan for the 78,725.
Hang on. Don't overtalk me, please.
Okay.
What I'm asking is, it's the 78,000 for the machine for 2 years, and then maintenance for additional 3 years at roughly 12,000. Is that what we're paying for?
No, the 78,725 would cover the machine and maintenance and signatures for 5 years.
Yeah, because I'm confused at the bottom of the page here when it says it's good for 2 years.
So are you looking at table D?
Yes.
Okay, so that was, I asked her to give us a price if we went with a 2-year plan,
Oh, okay.
what my annual request would need to be for those signatures.
After that.
Yes.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. Motion?
So we discussed this as part of part of our ARP discussions, that,
Yes.
you know, this is possibly a funding request that would come out of ARP dollars, because part of the problem that Debbie's having is because of COVID, it's hard to find people that are willing to come in and work as extra help. And there's also increased distancing requirements and all that. So I would be happy to make the motion, but I do want to make it clear that that's the funding source that we're looking at. So with that, I move to approve the purchase of the voter signature validation system and adopt sole source findings, and the purchase of a new Panasonic KVS 8100 voter signature validation system with a 5-year contract for a total not to exceed $78,725.
Oh, second.
And I second that.
Okay.
And I believe some of the details will also be in the legal contract that council is going to draft as soon as this is done.
Any other discussion before we vote?
The only other question I have would be, are we sure we need the 200,000 signatures per year? we could save little money if we could go with a smaller number, but I don't know that it's worth it to risk not having the capacity.
Voter reg, as I stated, is increasing a lot. We can go anywhere from usually 2, sometimes up to 5 elections. Usually if we have 5 elections, they are not all countywide.
Mm-hmm.
But voter interest and voter turnout is increasing. Any training that you do for staff that may change within the office, or you need to train to have them run this machine, it does use up some of your signatures. Periscript doesn't care if it's really a ballot or during the training process. And we would have to add something to our budget each year in case there was any overages if we went with a lower count. If we go with half as much signatures over the 5-year contract, you're looking at around $7,000. It's not a lot of increase. They were not able to tell me exactly what I would be charged in those lots of, let's say, 30,000 or 100,000 if I go over, because I can't just buy the exact amount I go over. And if you're in the middle of an election and you happen to reach that point, then the machine would then become kind of, I guess you'd say, useless, because you would not be able to use it. You didn't have the signatures purchased.
So let's say next year we have
not much reward for going longer, or not much risk. Anyway, what I'm saying, you don't save enough money over 5 years to make that a concern.
So for next year, if we have a primary and a general of, let's say, 30,000 people vote, that's 60,000 votes. Plus
Okay,
what happened in between.
that is correct, but I don't think you're gonna look at 30,000 people voting. Let me, just a minute, I've got to pull another sheet here. So we had almost 40,000 people vote in the November 2020 election.
How many?
Right at 38,000.
Okay.
And the voter reg was down at that time. We had about 23,000 in May. And as I mentioned, I do see the rates going up. And then the other 3 elections we had was a much smaller, maybe around 10,000 at that time. So we're riding close to the 100,000 on some of these elections. And as I stated, I'd be happy going either way, but I believe having that extra would relieve any pressure. When you're in the middle of a big election, it's always going to be the November election. You're going to have that increase and see that it might go over.
And I think you said this, but it only costs us an additional $7,000 total over the 5-year period to have that extra 100,000 signature per year buffer.
Yes, it goes from the for the 500,000, it goes 71,225. Going to the million, it goes up to 78,725. So you're looking at $7,500.
$7,500, yeah. Okay, I'm happy with the 200,000.
So we have a motion for the 78,725.
Mm-hmm. And a second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That was interesting. All righty, 2I, request approval letter of support for Building Back Better grant opportunity. Commissioner Cribbins.
Yes, this one's me. So we had some outreach from SCDC and CCD. which are two of our local economic development organizations. And they have been working on a grant application to submit for the EDA Build Back Better grant opportunity. And they've really focused on the blue economy idea, and they have several projects that they believe would fit under this and could potentially get funding for planning. And they are all opportunities that would lead to more jobs. I'll go ahead and read them to you really quick, just because I thought it was exciting. One is the Port of Coos Bay Green Terminal Development. The Port of Coos Bay has been looking at potentially, they have 500 acres of greenfield sites on the North Spit, and these are under negotiation for a potential large-scale green deep draft terminal development, which could accommodate container loading and unloading. And the Build Back Better grant could be leveraged to support some of the projected costs for terminal development, which would result in 250 direct FTE jobs and 500 temporary construction jobs. Another one is and I know you guys have been engaged in these conversations, the airport has been looking at increased electrification and having seafood cold storage and transfer, which would allow our local fishermen to break into markets that they are not in already. And so there is potentially funding for that project. The proposed cost of construction is $11 million and would result in 10 to 15 full-time jobs. The Port of Coos Bay and the Port of Brookings Harbor need upgrades to their wastewater facilities, and this could potentially be used for helping with that. And the Port of Bandon has been doing an aquaculture, mariculture project that they have been looking at for a while, and they've been developing seaweed and land-based aquaculture facilities for a value-added product. Seafood production through various species such as dulse offers an opportunity to harvest the bounty of the sea and also helps with carbon sequestration and develops a sustainable food source for people and livestock. I don't know if you've tried the dulse yet. I did try it at a meeting. It tasted like seaweed to me, but I'm sure there's some people that, find it delicious. It was not bad. Maybe in a salad or something. Oh yeah, you can use it in kimchi, salads, and canned goods. So.
Lots of blue cheese dressing helps cover.
I bet. Gravy, I hear, makes it better. So they're not asking us for any funding. They're just asking us for a letter of support, saying that we do work closely with CCD and SCDC and that these are valid and valuable projects in our region.
I move that we approve and sign the letter of support as presented in our packet.
Second.
All right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty, 2J, request decision on joining Forest Bridges Organization.
All right.
This
That
is
is
Rubens, I guess, huh? I thought it was John.
Yeah, that's me. And then I think John will probably give better color commentary than me.
Okay.
We have been asked to join the Forest Bridges Collaborative organization. Douglas County has already joined and provided some more funding than we're being asked to provide. This is essentially a group that is trying to create a forest collaborative, which would be used for the ONC lands as well as the Coos Bay Wagon Road lands. And Rick Sohn, who's the former CEO of Lone Rock and is now retired, has been really spearheading this effort. I think John would be happy to talk more about it, but to me, this is part of the efforts that we have been making. They've used forest collaboratives on the east side a lot and been very successful at increasing timber harvest while protecting other interests and getting those done and having timber harvest without litigation. So it's something that the west side needs and has been making efforts on, but we haven't had a successful forest collaborative yet. Commissioner Sweet?
And these funds would come, this would be funded by ARP, right?
What?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think this is a unique presentation, our opportunity. We have struggled for years trying to get more harvest off of our ONC and Wagon Road lands in the county. I think together they total I think a couple 100,000 acres of ONC lands and 60,000 acres of wagon road lands in the county. Our private harvests, our private forests total about 500,000 acres. So any harvest we could get out of this, some 250,000 acres of land, ONC and wagon road lands would be very beneficial to our local economy. I think Mr. Sohn is well respected both in the industry and by the environmental community. His company has done a great job of managing timberlands in our county and contiguous counties. I think we ought to try this. We've tried lots of things to get more managed, more harvest from these lands, and none have worked. I'll just leave it at that. I'm supportive of this for $20,000 for 3 years.
I will say I have a point of clarification. Legal counsel has pointed out to me that economic development would be a better source of funding for this.
Than ARP. Do we have the
Yes.
money in economic development to do this?
We do, because we have not used all of our economic development funds this year, and there is a restriction on ARP funds that they can't be used for lobbying.
Oh, okay.
And so he wanted to make sure that we were not venturing into that area.
All right. Thank you.
Treasurer Megan Sims has a question, I think. Yep.
Nat stole my thunder. So
Okay.
yeah, I agree with Nat. I was going to say this wouldn't be good for ARP funds, but just to confirm, we do have the money in economic development.
We have, so we approved earlier doing the fish project out of economic development. So we'd have that and this, and we have one more agenda item that would request $7,500, I believe, out of that fund. Do we have enough in economic development to do all three of those, or do we need to be?
We have enough.
We have enough. All right.
Yes. And just since we're on economic development again, the salmon stuff from before, who are we paying that money to?
Oregon Anglers Alliance,
Thank you.
that's who we'll contract with. Or
Yeah.
Okay,
send a grant agreement to.
perfect.
So for me, this Forest Bridges organization, if we weren't involved with ONC Association, would be very interesting, but it seems counterproductive to the ONC Association to join into this. So I'm kind of conflicted back and forth. We have these two pending lawsuits in Washington, D.C., where we won both cases, and now we're appealed, and we're still waiting. And it's been close to 3 years now for the appeal date, and we still don't have one from the federal judge. So I don't know how this Forest Bridges organization would affect that, if it would.
It doesn't affect it at all, Commissioner Main, and they're aware of that litigation. They have spoken extensively with Commissioner Freeman. I think this just goes back to there's more than one way to skin a cat. And we've kind of taken a multi-pronged approach to a lot of these issues, just like we currently have our wagon road land litigation. If we're successful with that, we still need the harvest to increase. So there's funding to pay us for the property taxes that they owe us. And this is potentially another way to get the harvest up. So there would be funding to pay us our property tax money.
Hopefully one of these will work.
I think it's worth a try.
You're trying to make ends meet. Okay, do I have a motion?
I move did I make a motion?
No, we
I think so.
entered into discussion
Let's-
first.
You want to go
about
ahead, Melissa, and do the motion?
Contrary generally.
I move to approve a contribution to the Forest Bridges Collaborative Organization of $20,000 per year for 3 years. Let's just take care of it now.
Second,
Out of economic development funds.
second.
Okay. Any other discussion? I don't see any raised hands on attendees or staff. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to 2K, request decision on joining Oregon Timber Counties Coalition.
This seems to be natural resources week here. There's a move afoot to form a new organization called Oregon Timbers Counties Coalition. This would be made up of Western Oregon counties that have largely U.S. Forest Service lands within their boundaries. The organization is being formed to work with congressional members and forest supervisors to increase the productivity and health of Oregon's national forest. Those are the forests that are supervised by the U.S. Forest Service. Focus will be on timber harvest receipts, public access, and county involvement in forest management decisions. Organizers are suggesting annual dues of $7,500 for counties of our county's size.
Okay.
I would move that we allocate or that we pay $7,500 out of economic development funds to join OTCC.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. So
Now,
it says,
I left it at just 1 year. I think this
right,
this is in the process of being organized, and I don't want to go longer than that until we know that that's all going to get done.
so it says annual dues, is that October to October, or is that just the last 3 months of this year?
That would be annual dues would be October to October.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion about this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, entertain a motion for consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have, I don't believe, any late agenda items.
Yes, sir.
John, Melissa? Nope. Citizen comments. Do we have anybody with citizen comments? I don't see any hands raised. Commissioner reports then.
Let's say we'll go first.
Sure, happy to go first. I think the first thing and the most important thing that I want to make sure you guys know about is that we had a discussion a few weeks ago. We've been having it on and off over the years about taking over building codes, and we have been frustrated by the amount of time that it takes for people who want to build in the county to get their plans reviewed by the state of Oregon. And our discussion has been that we really feel like it hinders economic development and discourages people from building in the county. And we really wanted to improve that if we can. So we have talked to Jill about it, and she's our planning director, and she completed the application. The application deadline was October 1st to submit it to building codes. And so we reached out to them, and Jill got the application submitted on October 1st. So we have begun the process to potentially assume building codes. I've been having conversations with some of the other municipalities and with Curry County. And, I think we all realize that we will need intergovernmental agreements to share some services and to cover for each other. We don't want to have building officials that are able, to either never take vacation or to have redundancy, so we can do that. And being able to share some services with other counties and cities will make that possible. So we are started down the path, and I wanted to make sure you guys knew that Jill had gotten that application in and done great work like she always does. I attended a couple of Association of Oregon County District meetings last week in my role as president of Association of Oregon Counties. There were 2 districts that decided to meet in person. And so we met, or hybrid anyway. So we met in the Dalles and we met in Baker City. And it was nice to hear the issues that those areas are concerned about. We, of course, share a lot of concerns, and issues are common across counties. But there was a lot of very spirited discussions about natural resources, broadband, vaccine mandates, a lot of the things that we talk about here. I have also been attending Elliott State Forest Work Group meetings. Those are continuing to move forward. It was reported in the press that Oregon State no longer was interested in being involved, and that was actually not correct. Oregon State was just concerned about ownership. So the discussion that's going on is that some other entity will be formed, like a public benefit corporation, similar to SAFE or OHSU, Willamette Falls Locks Corporation, and that would be the entity that would own the land, and then Oregon State would contract with them to manage it. So that's the route that it's going right now on the direction of the land board. I have been the convener on the Oregon Coast Trail for the southern segment. Commissioner Sweet has been very involved and has done a great job on his segments. We are in our second set of meetings, before the end of the year, to go ahead and finalize those suggested routes so those can be presented to the landowners group and state parks at the end of the year. I met the new RARE, which is Resource Assistance for Rural Environments, intern for Travel Southern Oregon Coast. Her name was Annie Williams, and she has her degree in landscape architecture from U of O. I think she's going to be great, and I'm really excited to have her on board. She's actually from La Grande. And so when I was out in Baker City, I asked one of the Union County commissioners about her, and he just couldn't say enough nice things about her. And anyway, I'm very excited. And she's been really excited about some of the projects that we're doing. Like I told her about Whiskey Run mountain biking trails and the fact that there's been some discussion about potential camping around there at some point in the future, and also about the Oregon Coast Trail. We had a meeting with our behavioral health director and got an update from him about how things are going with behavioral health. Had a virtual tour of Shutter Creek, and a lot of discussion about, what Shutter Creek could be repurposed for and what the process is with the GSA for repurposing it. And Commissioner Main and I had a visit to Winter Lake Schools and tried out their simulators for their heavy equipment operating, and they have a flight simulator and a long haul truck driving simulator. So those were pretty neat. They were great hosts. It was nice to see their school. We got a tour of all the stuff they do for their school, for their kids. And that is it for me. Thank you.
You've been busy as usual.
Mr. Sweet?
I sat in on the Elliott Advisory Committee meeting that Melissa referred to, where they were discussing taking ownership of, a way to not have to have Oregon State own the property in order to do a research forest project out there. Spent a couple hours one morning talking to the counties that have been interested in forming the Oregon Timber Counties Coalition. Had a SCABEC meeting. I'm on their board representing the county. Met with the local chambers, legislative committee, and talked about the county. They were very interested in funding and where our money comes from and where it goes, and what our plans for the future are. It was a very, very nice meeting. In the last week, I had 3 meetings regarding the county forest trust lands. The Board of Forestry and the Oregon Department of Forestry seem to be hell-bent on going forward with a new habitat conservation plan and a forest management plan to complement that. That would take over half of these lands out of timber production. That would be with huge reductions in the some 250 million board feet of year of timber harvest that has been taking place on those lands in recent years. They're capable of generating conservatively 350 million board feet of timber a year, currently harvesting at around 250, and they're under this new management plan. I can't remember, but those would drop significantly down under 150 million board feet a year. So it'd be great loss to the counties, and the money goes to all the taxing districts in the counties. So it supports schools and libraries and hospitals, the counties. It supports that, and it'd be a tremendous loss for rural counties. I guess in a way we're fortunate we don't have a lot of land in it, so you can't get much worse than where we are right now as far as revenue generation. That's pretty much all I had to report.
Okay, thank you. For me, I attended a producers meeting of farmers, ranchers, and timber operators. They're trying to form their own small taxing district since the law was changed on how they were previously collecting funds to protect their livestock, etc. Attended several Oregon Anglers Association meetings. The primary discussion was the lack of salmon, lack of steelhead, all up and down the entire Oregon coast, and what to do about that. And obviously today was the first step in trying to figure out what they're worth and where they went. Participated on a panel to select Emergency Operations Center Director. We selected Chip Delaria, Delyaria. He should be starting shortly. Like Melissa said, we had Winter Lakes tour. And to me, that's really essential because not all the kids that go to school will go on to college to be doctors, attorneys, et cetera, accountants, all that. It gives these other kids who are not going to do that an opportunity to learn all kinds of heavy equipment operations, flight school, which will actually their flight simulator contributes to their flight school hours. They have beautician, they have culinary. What did I leave out, Melissa? Electronics.
Yeah,
just a very of fields, auto mechanics, woodworking, on and on. And there's a big need for those folks, as I well know, when you have to go get your car fixed or something like that, or have something done to your house. As an electrician comes over, and they're very good paying jobs. Like John said, lastly, attended the Forest Trust Lands committee meetings with ODF, and I did make a statement because we have won our multi-dollar lawsuit against the state, and because this new proposal by ODF takes out over half of the timber out of production, To me, it seemed like they were trying to get us to agree that we would go along with this, taking half out of production, and therefore mitigating our win, which they have appealed, which we don't have a court date yet. So I stated that while I have read all of their proposals, I have not filed a formal written disagreement with it. That doesn't mean I agree at all because of our pending lawsuit. With that, anything else for anybody? Commissioner Sweet, Commissioner Crivens?
No, sir.
Okay,
No,
we are
sir.
done. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Leave for all in the middle there.
What?
And webinar for all in the middle, down, in the middle of your screen. Down,
Oh.
in the middle, that one. Yes.